Mike, how are we doing today?
Doing great, Frank. Welcome back. Quick episode of Perspective Shift today.
Yeah, quick. Yeah,
we
relatively quick.
Frank and I just got off of an interview that we did for another podcast. We'll be sharing with you guys. It was an astrology podcast, which was super cool.
Yeah, and she had great questions. That's what I like.
So she was interviewing us as Perspective Shift, but then tying in our astrology, our between, the year, date, time we were born and how that related to, what this experience that we call reality and how it affects us. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool how she tied, the way our planetary systems work, how they work in conjunction, like we're almost meant to be doing this together.
Exactly.
Which is the synchronicity. So when you start to get verification outside of just the world that's happening around us, because obviously me and Mike have been doing this for 4 years.
Synchronicity, my friend, at its finest.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you get verification of it. It kind of like, this is how it works. Like we didn't need somebody to give it the verification, but it just made more sense. And I think when you get verification, it helps deepen the level like, am I supposed to be doing this?
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of that conversation we had with...
Well, and it's cool.
Yeah.
So, like right now, we're going through a time, and this is what Frank and I said. We were like, "Hey, let's just let's jump on camera and let's chat a little bit."
Yep.
And I think right now the seasons are changing. I don't know where you're at, but we can't deny that the seasons are changing. We're heading into fall. And as seasons change, different emotions come up.
And what is the
up.
analogy of fall?
Fall? Oh,
It's
you're talking about
letting go.
Yep.
All right. So obviously. We've been talking about this in the last several podcasts. We'll continue down this road about the breath work. Obviously, when you breathe in, the natural is letting go. And that's the feeling. So breathing in invigorates us, and then breathing out is the feeling of letting go of everything that we don't need. Just the oxygen molecules remain. Mm-hmm. And fall is that season when we let go conceptually and physically. Yeah. And we start to do that. And the best way, how do I learn to let go? I'm like, if you breathe in really deep, go. Keep going until your lungs are about to explode. And let go. I'm like, how difficult was that?
Not difficult.
No, not at all. And so letting go is a feeling, not something that you necessarily, because you can't let go of a thought, but you can certainly go and let it just drift away. Even if you don't consciously think about it, all thoughts will go. They may reappear and still have the same hit on you, but this is the season for letting go. And why do we let go? Because the things we're letting go will then hit the ground, so like leaves do on a tree, and they break down, and they actually create food for the root of the tree to continue down this journey. So what we're letting go of isn't bad. It's just be using differently in an organic matter of energy.
No longer circuit.
Yeah, because the more carbon dioxide we give out to the earth, the more the trees grow, because trees love carbon dioxide.
Yes, they do.
You know?
And
so it's kind of this homeostasis giving. And so breath is the quickest thing for human beings to understand it. When I'm breathing in and breathing out, we call that breathing or breath. But then there's an in-breath, the time to breathe in, and the time to let go. And we're in the letting go phase of this cycle right now, where we're moving into fall. But even in the human cycle of letting go of all concepts, old ideas that are no longer working, it's not to say that the old ones were bad. The old ones got us here. And I think this is where we can stop fighting. It's kind of like the older generation laid out the platform for the newer generation. The old concepts laid out the platform for the new concepts. And we let the old concepts let go. That what they do is they fall and nurture the new ones. There isn't like your generation screwed things up. That is a way to look at it.
Oh, we love to say that.
It's crazy, And so for me being, the age I am, I don't look at the younger generation like, oh my God, these people. I'm like, no. I'm like, we gave birth to this, by the way.
That's natural evolution.
I was a tree who dropped the acorn onto the earth. Yeah. So if I don't like the tree next to me, it's my
I got to look at what the hell's going on.
Yes. But when we could change our perspective onto this, and that's what the show's all about. And again, if you think the world has gone to shit, that is your right, and I can't take that away from you. I'm not going to argue with that.
And you'll experience that.
Yeah.
That's all truths are true.
And if you do experience it, you're going to gain something from it. So it's not like the only route to go is the route Mike and I are talking about. We're just talking about when you start to shift your perspective on the situation that occurred, it all changes. We don't need the situation to change. We just need to change the way we look at it. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, what I thought was my foe is now my friend. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what Jesus meant by love thy enemy, because the enemy is about to show you something, and that will make you your friend. So it's just grabbing onto these concepts as best you can. When I first learned about these concepts, I didn't dive full in. I started at the shallow end of the pool, walked in, did a couple of strokes,
and your foot.
Yeah, and then when I learned how to swim, then I swam over the deep end, thinking like, well, if you're swimming in 6 foot of water, or say 5 foot of water, or 30 foot of water, if you're on the surface, it's the same. Mm-hmm. Psychologically, it may seem differently, but it's the same.
Yeah.
It's just when I was in 5 foot of water, if I couldn't make it to the edge of the pool, I was able to stand. Mm-hmm. By a certain age, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I turned 5 foot about a couple of years ago. Mentally.
But that's truly how it works,
It is. So
you feel like that.
Yeah. The challenge here is in your breath work. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the physiology of doing stuff. Now we're going to take it to the next level. When you're breathing, what new nuances of concepts are we getting? We're stepping out of the 7 natural needs. Now we're going into that 7th one and expanding beyond of creative expression. Okay, let's step into that now. Let's be done or starting to let go momentarily of survival. Worrying about money, worrying about the future. Be coming to the present moment. Because this present moment, this moment here of excitement is what's going to generate a platform or a road for the nuances of the new world to show up. But if I'm worried now, the road that we're presenting is going to be riddled with potholes.
Yeah.
And we want to overcome that.
Well, and a lot of people are at a stage right now, oh my God, they see October, us almost at mid-October, and now it's like another year is ending, I didn't achieve what I wanted during this year. This year was one of my hardest. We're seeing all sorts of this stuff out there right now. And why that perspective? Why are we choosing a perspective that, doesn't quite serve us, doesn't make us feel good? It's returning to a same, old type of pattern, which is self-deprecating, struggle, suffering, and we have the power to choose. We could as easily say, this is the year that I began to understand how things work.
Yeah.
This is the year I began to trust myself. This is the year I began to forgive myself. This is the year I began to believe in myself.
Yeah, and the easiest way to do that is letting go of the old concepts. Mm-hmm. And how do you let go? By grabbing onto a new one. Again, when you let go of the old concept, you don't have to worry, because that concept is always and forever floating around the universe, just like everything is. Just like if I like to watch inspirational movies, I don't call the film director's office and say, I need you to stop making horror movies. Mm-hmm. No. Like, horror movies could be in the same movie theater that I am, and it won't affect me. Why? Because I don't go into them. And I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying horror movies are bad, but
no, totally.
If you choose to want to watch a different type of movie, you then go into that theater and leave the other theaters alone. All right? So if you're in a horror movie, you want to go see an inspirational movie, leave the theater. And the best way to do that is knowing the next theater over is showing the inspirational movie. So leaving that theater becomes easy. It's not... I guess where we find the problem is, or come up with the problem is, we think every theater has a horror movie in it, so I might as well stay in this horror movie because it's the horror movie I know. That is not true. All right? You might have to, don't like this one, this is boring, or whatever. You might have to check out a couple of different theaters, but nonetheless, there's infinite amount of theaters beyond 24 Cinemax Simplexes or whatever they have out
AMC,
there.
whatever.
I remember when I was a kid, there was like, you go to a movie theater and there was one theater.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it shows you how old they are.
But seriously, it's like, well, hell.
Yeah, you showed up there. The line was wrapped around the corner because no pre-sales on tickets. You know, first come, first serve, and they open up the box office at this time. So you're just wrapped around the corner talking about people about how great this movie may be. Mm-hmm. And you went in. Now it's like, no. Like, you got the quanta
recliner
field
seats.
Yeah, the quanta. Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, the quanta field had set in. But nonetheless, my curiosity of movies didn't change because the outward comfort had presented itself at a different level. Mm-hmm. You know, I still enjoyed those movies. Like,
hell yeah.
Oh my God, it didn't matter how bad the seats were. You know, that's how good a movie is. You don't even notice the discomfort of the seat.
Yeah, you get pulled into it. And that was a great analogy, because when Frank's talking about these different theaters, what's he talking about, guys? We know this, your state. Where is your state of being at? You know, if I'm holding a state of sadness, regret, suffering, pain, how the hell am I supposed to see or witness an inspirational, or loving film? You know, you don't buy tickets to go see, Scream or the new Terrifier or the new Halloween and expect, to see this movie, about peace and love. That's not what you're walking into. So treat your state the same. Hey, if I'm in this state, and I'm feeling, and I'm holding on to all these things, how the hell do I expect my body or this experience to show me anything other than a reflection of this state? Mm-hmm. And that really, really is what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's what it is sometimes we don't realize there is a better movie out there. So getting back to this understanding is when we breathe in at different rates, up-regulating, down-regulating, however you want to, whatever your system needs. Like if you're in a sympathetic state, you want to get into a parasympathetic state where it's nice and relaxed. There's a type of breathing you'll do. And there's multitudes of different variations of that. So pretty much breathing in, nice and deep. But then when you're breathing out, you extend it like twice as long as the intake. So if you're doing 4 in, do about 8 to 10 out. That will start to calm down your nervous system. And when you calm it down, the concept, the idea that there are other movies out there that are more preferential to you are then become easier. Because you have to know it's possible in order for you to step onto a ledge and fly. If you don't, I do not suggest you fly or jump off the cliff, because it will be a quick ending to the experience in which we're here. So how do I set my system up to know these possibilities? Breath work is the quickest way. Actually, everything else, like cold water, well, what happens when I get in the cold water? I have to augment my breathing, because if I don't, I'm going to shiver all day and it's going to be painful. So once I take deep breaths in, all of a sudden my body regulates quicker to where the cold water has less of effect of discomfort on me. Going to the gym, same thing. I got to augment. If I held my breath at the gym, I would literally pass out so quick it'd be unreal. So, but when you understand what's going on, it's the regulation of my breathing, and that's the one system that we have that we constantly affect.
I do want to touch on that real quick. So, like what Frank's talking about, like especially going to the gym, I don't think people understand that when they're going to the gym, the real benefits that they're seeing are through the breath. Yep. And I have been having a lot of conversations about this with my girlfriend Kayla, where she's explained like how our diet and everything works. People go to the gym to lose weight, right? Or to, create muscle mass. Yeah, get fit.
Yeah, there's multitude of reasons why people go. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't think it's like for our breathing or, to feel good. Well, a lot of people actually, they know they feel better after the fact.
The ultimate thing is to feel good. So if I see my muscles grow, I correlate that with feeling good. But the problem is that doesn't last forever, because I've done it myself, and I've seen bodybuilders like, I'm looking small today. I'm like, you're fucking insane.
And it drives you nuts.
Yeah, because yesterday it looked huge.
Yep.
And, well, it doesn't drive me nuts, but I understand the psyche, because they're basing how they feel on the mirror. And I'm like, no. Feel good. And then whenever you look in the mirror, it'll look great, regardless of how dense your muscle is or less. I'm like, so start with the feeling good, then appropriate, and then look to the outside world. But if you're looking for the outside world to feel good, it's a mixed bag, baby. Yeah. You know, because some guy like, oh man, I'm looking flat, and I'm like looking at this dude. He's like got 17-inch arms. I'm like,
Holy
you're
shit.
insane. You know, it's like, yeah, well, you know, I had about 17 and a half last week, and I'm like, but I realized, okay, not to knock that person. What am I doing in my life that I'm doing the same thing? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, okay.
That's it.
And it's because in the moment when I looked in the mirror, my body wasn't regulated. That's why it looked bad. If my body was regulated, I would have looked good.
And when you say your body, you're talking about your nervous system, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
My nervous system, my heart rate and everything, I felt good. I was in homeostasis. My serotonin, my oxytocin, my dopamine was, I don't know if to say perfect, but it was really good. So then when I looked at the outside world, everything looked good.
Yeah.
But if I was in a bad place and I look at the outside world,
Everything sucks.
yeah, like, you know, and you might say to yourself intellectually, like, well, I know I have a good life. I have money. I'm healthy. But why don't I feel good? If I can just grow my arms a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
what we do.
Yeah. And
That's
it's
what we
like,
do.
okay. But what happens in the interim of you doing that, you have to lift more, you have to breathe more, and then I feel good. And then you're like, oh, my arms got bigger, therefore I'm happy. I'm like, that's a side effect.
That's a story that we tell ourselves.
But me getting bigger is a side effect of it, not the causation. It's a correlation, but it's not the causation. And we could go into, and even breathing is a deeper correlation, but it's really, there's something else that's causing this that I can't speak of because I don't know.
Yeah.
And if there is somebody out there that absolutely knows the deep causation of everything, please let me know. But there are scientists out there working on it every day. But in the interim of finding the causation, they find these deep-rooted correlations which help us get along with our lives. And right now, like, when I breathe in and breathe out, I learn to regulate my system. When I'm feeling good, I pay attention to it. Okay, when I'm not feeling good, I just change it. Yeah, it might take me 20 minutes to an hour. I'm like, who cares? Doesn't matter. But it works. To what degree? To the degree in which you put your effort and conscious effort into it and see what happens.
And it definitely works.
Oh, yeah, it works. But I don't hold a value to how I should feel. So if I'm feeling lousy, just feeling a little bit better is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, okay, I can get out of this state. How far can I go? Well, then you have to let go of the whole process in order to get further.
And that's probably the best part is knowing that you can get out of that state.
That's it.
Because that's where most of us feel so stuck.
And that's what we're talking about the movie theater. If you're in a movie theater and you watch a horror movie and you no longer want to watch horror movies, not knowing there's an inspirational movie is why you don't leave. So there's nothing wrong with you. Because we're not just going to go into a void. But when you start to trust that the fact that you want to watch an inspirational movie, you have to trust the universe that it actually exists. Because if it didn't, you wouldn't be able to think about it. So anything you can imagine. Now, discern, is your imagination based off what other people want, or is it really a deep-rooted imagination? Well, then play with that and get the feeling from it. And then trust that at some point in your journey, those things will start to amass, but you have to let go of what they are because we don't really know, because a lot of things we think we know are what TV told us.
Or our parents.
Our parents. Well, even our parents were told by,
To TV.
like whoever thought about a 15,000 square foot house, right? It's like, oh, until you watch like Robin Leach.
MTV Cribs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because Robin Leach started with the Lifestyles of Rich and Famous. You know, I think I told that story one time. I was sitting in my 2-bedroom condo in New York and freaking just my first place, I think, was 23, around there.
Super stoked, right?
Yeah, I was like 22 when I bought it. And I'm sitting there, I'm all happy. I'm sitting there and I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden, Lifestyles of Rich and Famous come on. I'm like, their closet is the size of my fucking house.
And now all of a sudden, wind taken
like,
from the sail.
motherfucking, I live in a closet.
What the fuck?
But back then there wasn't that much input to that stuff. So that show came on like once a week, and I didn't watch it a lot. So then that closet thing drifted away, and I was back to this lovely 2-bedroom place I had, right?
Yeah.
So, but
you
now
were
we're
extremely stoked about.
And so we're so inundated with objects and things that we should have.
Yeah.
That we have to learn to step away from that to really gain, to discern what it is, what's part and parcel from my experience. If you do that, those things will show up. If they don't, they're not part of the show. Understand that. But if they keep coming up, means they are. And it's like the universe saying, okay, you know, I'm driving along and I'm on the freeway and I'm not really sure if I'm going the right direction. And like in a minute and a half later, you see a sign, 200 miles away. I'm like, oh, that's the verification. I'm not there yet. I'm not at whatever is.
Whatever city.
Whatever city you can choose. But it's the indication I'm heading in the right direction. I don't need to even be there to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to get into the place of having to have that thing. I'm like, you don't need that thing. It will show up if it's meant to be. If it's not, it's the feeling of the generation that got you off the couch that led us down this road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it is the more you get into the more neutral state that you're actually drawing that experience or that situation closer to you.
Yeah.
And the more you need something to happen, want something to happen, you're repelling, just like a magnet. We're electromagnetic beings, you know? And so I think that's extremely important. And in being able to relax into your true being is the most powerful thing one can learn and understand. And Frank and I, we want to just jump on, do a quick episode with you guys, and I think this will be a good way for us to, like, a good end note for this. But Frank, one of the things that you used to always say to me that was extremely powerful and really helped me on my journey was you would tell me that the only thing
was it a knock joke?
No, but those were extremely helpful.
Oh yeah.
It was the only thing you're doing wrong is thinking that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that again. I want people to hear this, but the only thing you right now listening are doing wrong is thinking you are doing something wrong. That quote, that statement can help you get out of the depths of what you've called suffering, hell, my life for years. There is nothing you need to do, you know, in order to save yourself. Like there's not like this thing that must be accomplished and now you can relax or now you can feel good. So can you dive a little bit into that?
Yeah, because in other words, when that statement said, now the thing I add to that is because whatever situation you are in, you didn't do anything wrong other than think you're doing something wrong. Once you alleviate yourself from that, the situation, the challenge is still there, and then you're more able to deal with it and appropriate with it. Because we as human beings understand when things are working, we understand when things are not working. So I'm not saying keep driving your car into the wall and say, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. No, you're a moron if you keep doing that because the destruction is valued against you, right? Because there's consequences to that. But when you did something the first time, it's like, okay, I did. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I'm like, how are you an idiot? You've never been here before. All right. So stop the self-deprecation and realize I just learned something. You know, when I see that stop sign, I should stop a little sooner. All right. All right. And so as time goes on, these little failures become the greatest lessons of learning if you choose to look at them from that vantage point. If you blame other people for putting that stop sign there and whatever, that can be problematic. But yeah, knowing you're not doing anything wrong, you just had an experience that didn't fall into the state of flow, can get you back into the flow. Because any one time someone does something, they weren't paying attention and they hit a tree. Well, hitting that tree, man, I tell you what, that brought you dead into conscience. You are conscious now. You're aware of everything. People are like, yeah, it was an accident. Everything slowed down. I'm like, that's the conscious state. Now, remember that feeling without the pain of hitting your windshield or whatever it may be, and realize, how can I stay in that state or stay close to that state so this never happens again?
Right,
I'm like, there's a lesson right there. All right? And when you're breathing, focus on breathing. That's the way there's a multitude of things keeping you, looking out. Even then, when I'm breathing and I'm getting more of a higher state, you have this weird sense to, let me slow the car down. And you slow it down, and a car shoots out of the parking lot. Stuff like that happens as well. All right? Most of the life we live is pretty damn safe. It's the accidents that stand out. That's why we're driving down the freeway. I'm like, oh, what's the traffic for? And you realize that the accidents on the side of the road is because people We call them, in New York, we call it rubbernecking. Here, they call it looky-loo. I'm like, I don't like that. Looky-loo. It's like
Rubbernecking.
Yeah, rubbernecking. I don't even know. I understand.
Looking out.
Yeah. But what then they do is they're actually probably putting themselves in more danger to get into another accident. But yet then I'm like driving because I'm from New York. I'm like, for the love of God, keep moving. There's no reason. Like if the car was flipped over in the middle of the road, I understand why it's going slow. But the fact that you're looking, the car's already on the side of the road, you're not being conscious. You're being distracted by this thing that stands out. Why? Because it's hardly ever happens.
And that's what the news likes to do. They like to throw out a lot of things that rarely happen. But holy shit, you better worry. And hold on, at the commercial break, we've got the trick for you. We're going to sell it to you, and we're going to make it all good.
Yeah, we're going to sell you the Xanax because the news is what made you anxious.
So tune in, to see what hell is coming to you, brought to you by your local government.
Now, there is a way to drive past an accident and observe it without putting others in harm's way, without even slowing down. There is a way to listen to news for bits of information that you may or may not need, depending on what you do. We're not saying don't do that, but don't get pulled into it. Be neutral about it. Like there's a part in every human being that's neutral about everything. We just tend to not aware of that, right? When you say I don't feel good, who knows you don't feel good? That in which knows isn't the thing that's not feeling good. It can't be. In order to touch this hand, I need the other hand to touch it. Mm-hmm. So when you start like, oh, wow. Yeah, exactly. So it's not what saying don't partake in these activities because I don't believe in a renouncement either because that's just another prison. Mm-hmm. Like I can't do this anymore. I'm like, let's see how long this lasts, and it really, you can't, it's very difficult to renounce. And what I mean is pushing something away. Well, instead of pushing something away, let that thing fall, and it will fall as you move towards something else. So
that's the trick.
Yeah, the trick is that. So say you want to lose weight. Most people say, I have to stop eating this, stop eating this. I'm like, why not eat this and eat that and watch this fall away? Yeah. It's the monkey bar theory that Mike and I talk about all the time. In order to let go of the bar behind us or where we're at, we need to be looking and reaching for the bar in front of us, and that creates this fluidity of the movement across the monkey bars. And that's what we don't want to just come to a monkey bar and hang. It seems like the quickest you can move in light, where actually very low energy is grabbing onto the bars. You get to the place where you're moving like a monkey through the jungle. That's the state in which we want. So letting go isn't something we think about. It's grabbing on to the next. And there's a moment when you get really good, when you actually let go before you even grab the other bar, and you grab it. Now you're in this flow rhythm, like you see a trapeze artist.
Mm-hmm. And we've all felt that on the playground.
Yeah, but when I watch, like you ever watch a monkey swing through trees, I'm like, there's something in us. I'm like, we know what that feels like, even though we may have never experienced it. But we know, like, that's freaking cool. I wish I could go through the jungle that way. And like when we were kids, I shouldn't admit this, but it's too late. I spilled it.
I was gonna say, you gotta tell us.
I could either walk or I could run, but when you skipped, it was more fluid.
Oh.
Yeah, skipping had a more rhythm to it. Running was bang, 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 bang. Mm-hmm. Walking was slow, but skipping, you kind of
had a flow.
You're like a gazelle.
Yep.
Yeah, and my friend's like, oh, you used to skip. I'm like, so did you. I just didn't. I saw you. We only skipped when I looked left, looked right. I saw it skipping.
We made sure no one was around.
Because men were not allowed to skip. That was a girl thing, right?
It's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's this fluid thing that you happen. So when you actually get into this stride of like, boom, you're in that, and there's this brilliant place, and we all know what it feels like.
We do.
Yeah, we know when it's clunky. We know when we're heavy. We know when we're moving poorly. But then, how can I get in the state where I'm moving like Michael Jackson across the stage?
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. Well, you gotta let go of resistance in order to do that, and the more you let go, there's resistance by grabbing onto something lighter in front of you. And breath is the first thing that teaches us. When a child comes out, they take a breath in, and they start crying.
Yep.
Because they're like, what the fuck did you just bring me into?
Mm-hmm.
There's lights and everything and stuff like that. But, so the first word was, but it was preceded by
in.
Let go. And we're in the fall season, so this next week and next season, breathe in, but focus on the out breath, because more of us need to get into the parasympathetic state. And the parasympathetic state is more coming from the outward breath and the slowing it down, making it longer, and the body then knows what to do. We don't have to worry. You don't even need to know what the vagus nerve is. Mm-hmm. I don't.
You don't need
it's a nerve that's everywhere, that travels on every route, but it's kind of like the mycelium of the earth, I guess, in our body. It's connected to everything. But when I breathe in, God, I know what that feels like, and it feels good. So this season, and the season's just not going to stem from October into the end of November. We're talking a cycle of your life. From here on in for the rest of your life, start letting go. Yeah, there's these short seasons. There's these minute seasons. There's these hour seasons. There's these quarterly seasons as we have in the calendar. But then there are these seasons we're in. Humanity's in this season of fall, of letting go. And when you let go, see what acorn would grow the next oak tree. See what new forest is going to come out of that.
Reach towards it, too.
Yeah, no, it's going to, like, listen, you plant the seed, you know something's going to come out of that ground. You just don't know what the tree's going to look like or the forest, how deep it is. But that's the fun in it. Trust. By letting go, what you're letting go of is going to germinate and feed the very leaves and the branches of the tree that you actually are and the society that we're in.
And that's it.
If someone wants to hold on to their stuff, let them. Worry about your tree. Worry about your life. And this way you can also be, an inspiration to people. Not by telling them they must do this, but you have to live it. You know? Like musicians, athletes, they inspire us not because they tell us what to do. It's because they're playing the music that came through them.
They're living it.
Yeah, like I went to the Magic Dragons last night. I tell you, it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Yeah. It felt like a revival. And like I knew who the Magic Dragons are, but my son wanted to go, and so I'm like, we're looking at it in May or something like that. I took him out one day, and I'm like, hey, we should go to a concert together and look around. I'm like, Magic Dragons? Like, yeah, I like them. So that's cool. We just went last night, and I didn't know what to expect. I'm like sitting there, like, we live in Phoenix. When the sun went down, it was still 100 degrees.
Right.
It's an outdoor venue. It's an amphitheater. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, shit. There's a little kid in front of me had a fan. I'm like, hey, kid, can you point it this way? Like, he was,
let me get a little bit.
Yeah, like,
get on the
like
fan.
this. And it had, like, water shooting. I'm like thinking, where the hell did the kid get this thing?
Yeah. I didn't go buy
But then all of a sudden, when they came on, I forgot the temperature, man.
Absolutely.
I was up dancing the whole time.
Yeah.
When I say dancing, I bob my head and stuff like that.
No, totally.
And there was this connectedness. You see, the band and the audience became one. Automatically, just became one. It was the greatest thing in the world. And we actually, I've heard about this in science, where if you took the lead singer of Imagine Dragons, I don't even know his name. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew nothing about this band. I knew a couple of their songs. And which was why it was so cool to me. I'm like, damn, they have a lot of good songs. I only knew a handful of them.
Hell yeah.
And so if they took an apparatus and they changed, they measured his neural pathways in his brain, and they took the average person sitting there, and if somebody that was reading it was in a different room where they couldn't see any of them, they wouldn't know who was who.
Isn't that interesting?
Because we have mirror neurons. So it was almost like as if my viewpoint is as if I was on stage singing the song. That's how I felt. Even though I was consciously aware I'm not. Mm-hmm. You became one. But it wasn't like I wish I was on the stage. No, I'm on the stage, but he's representing me on the stage. And all of a sudden, you're looking around, and I think this amphitheater held 12,000 people, and there was 12,000 people there.
Yeah.
No, oh my God. It was amazing. And again, it was a state I was in. You know, I went there because my son, and him and I are very close, and we don't really talk stuff.
Yeah.
We just like like that, but that's how we communicate.
Exactly.
And at the show, it's like, yeah, this is good. And I seen him like bobbing his head, and he look over being reserved, but then he see me going, so he went, and we didn't need to speak.
Yeah.
We were there, and it was a great moment, and it felt like a revival because everyone was there didn't care what politics they were, their religion, the color, how old they were. Everyone became one in that moment. And that's what we're talking about. We start to breathe better and become stuff. We can see that. Even though others can't see that, I can see we are brothers and sisters. I don't need them to see that. But if I can see that and live by that, I have the way to help people up to get to that and let go of their old ways. Just like people helped me to let go and grab onto new concepts and ideas and keep going. So just like every coach has their own coach. It never ends. Because life is a circle, and please show me the beginning.
Yeah, right.
There is no beginning spot. So don't think you're it, but you're a part of that circle. You're a dot on that circle that helps it move and go and create energy. And then you take a circle and stretch it out, you got a spiral. And it never ends.
I invite you listening, get out and be that light for that next individual. Next time you find yourself in a spot, say, no, I'm choosing, my highest and best path.
Yeah. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for others. And when you do it for others, you realize, damn, I feel good.
Yep.
There are certain people out there, mothers and dads that I got to do this for my family. And you're going to realize you're going to feel good about yourself by doing that. Mm-hmm. So, this is what we're talking about. But do it to yourself. Appropriate these actions and get into that state and watch your life and others around you change. I have parents all the time. How do I get my kid to change? I'm like, have you changed? What do you mean? I'm like, are you doing the work? So when people ask me, how do I change a kid? I'm like, let's do breath work. Let's do this. Let's do that. Because you become a beacon. But telling the kids something ain't going to, telling someone how to amass a lot of money and they're on the street starving is the most ridiculous thing to do. Give them a sandwich. Mm-hmm. And then be kind to them. And then I realize the world is actually kinder. Maybe I can get off the street and get a job. There's not all, and you find, oh yeah, I own a company. Oh really? So now, because you're living this example, other people can then step into those shoes. But if you're preaching, you're not living the example. You're maybe thinking okay, if I get my kid to be successful, I could be happy. I'm like, now you're putting the weight on your child's shoulders. I'm like, that's
good luck.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You become the example and watch your kids soar beyond you. You be the catalyst for your children, be the catalyst for your community, be the catalyst for the world. Yeah, it takes focus.
Life's exciting.
It's amazing.
It's
amazing. It really is. But getting to that level, getting to that state, you have to be in that state. When you're not in that state, it's not. How do I get there? Let go of your oxygen fully and deeply. Get that carbon dioxide out of you. It'll regulate your nervous system. Yeah. Your dopamines pick up. Your serotonin picks up. Your oxytocin picks up. These are all the chemicals that we love. To what degree? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Don't get too hung up on measurement, because when you measure, it means you don't trust. Yeah. All right? Noticing that you've grown is different than constantly measuring. Because measuring means I don't trust it's going to work. But oh my God, look at this. Look where I'm at. Look what's happening. Then the voice in your head says, keep going. Keep going.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Wishing everyone listening all the best on their start to their fall. Take a step back, take a moment to breathe, and remember, you are such a powerful human being.
And it's no wonder Halloween is in fall, because it's just a costume that you put on, and then when the night ends, you take it off.
Yep.
You let go of it. You drop the costume like a leaf off a tree.
Yep.
Yeah. But get that candy.
Wishing everybody an awesome start to the fall. Frank and I will see you guys next week. Yep. We're going to throw that episode we were telling you about where we did our interview with the Astrology Podcast. We'll have that up here for you guys to enjoy too. We just wanted to jump on, check in with you guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Keep on breathing and peace out.
Thanks, guys.